Okay, so 2.2 is all about just practicing doing derivatives. So let's look at some of them that I think will probably throw you all off a little bit. So number 7, you have y equals 1 over x to the 5th. So what I do is I rewrite this and move this up to the top. So when you have an exponent on the bottom, to move it to the top of a fraction, you make it negative. So 1 over x to the 5th is x to the negative 5th. So then to take the derivative of that, you make the negative 5 go to the front, and then subtract 1 from this, so that becomes negative 6. So you can leave it like this, or if you want to rewrite it, you can move this back down to the bottom, and it becomes positive, so it becomes negative 5 over x to the 6. Okay, you might see both versions on the AP exam, but they're both the same thing. And then number 9, so we're doing y equals the 5th root of x. So to rewrite this, whatever exponent's in here at the x is what goes on top, so there's a 1. And then whatever your root is out here goes on the bottom of the fraction. So the 5th root of x is the same thing as saying x to the 1/5. So then if you take the derivative, the 1/5 comes down to the front. And then you do 1/5 minus 1. So for those of you who struggle with fractions, you can make it like this: 1/5 minus 5 over 5. So subtracting 1. So the common denominator is 5, so you leave that alone. And then 1 minus 5 is negative 4. So your derivative is 1/5 x to the negative 4/5. I like to leave it this way, but you might see it simplified like on the exam. So what you can do is bring this down to the bottom of the fraction and then rewrite it as a root. So it'd be 1 over 5, and then it doesn't become negative, it's positive now. So it's x to the 4th, and then root of 5. So the 5th root of x to the 4th. Okay, so that's how you do that one. Okay, number 19, we've got some trig. So pi over 2 is just a number, so you can just leave it alone. It's just a coefficient that's going to get multiplied, so leave it up there in the front. The derivative of sine is cosine, so derivative of sine theta, cosine theta. Bring down your minus sign. Derivative of cosine is negative sine, and then you just simplify, so a negative times a negative makes this a positive. All right. 34, kind of like what we did in 2.1, they want you to find the derivative, find the slope at a specific point. So you're going to do the power rule, so 2 times 4 gives you 8, and then it'd be x cubed. The derivative of this negative 3 is 0, so it goes away. So we're just going to substitute our x into the equation for the derivative, so 8 times 1 cubed is just 8. So the slope is 8 at the point 1, negative 1. All right, and then the last type of problem we're going to look at, so number 43, this whole section is just practicing more derivatives. We're going to talk about quotient rule in the next video, and you saw it in the video earlier this week, but one way you can do derivatives without having to do the quotient rule is to simplify this first. So since you've got a numerator where you're adding, and they only have one common denominator, you can separate them into 2 different fractions. So you can have 4x cubed over x plus 3x squared over x. And then we can just simplify, so x cubed over x cancels out and you're left with x squared. X squared over x cancels out and you're left with x. And then you can just take the derivative of this polynomial. So it's going to be 8x plus 3. All right, and that's how you do those problems.